This video introduces the CHaMP topo processing Centerline tool. This is the last choice on the topo processing menu, and the goal is to create a centerline down through the polygon, essentially following the main flow channel. This line is extremely important because we lay out cross sections perpendicular to this line, so its orientation is extremely critical to the later processing of the CHaMP topo data. So I've loaded here my DEM. I've been through all the previous steps. I've manually added my water extent polygon here just so you can see better where the channel is. When you choose the Create a Centerline option, you get this screen up here. I'll actually set the tool running and then explain the inputs, given that this takes a few minutes. So if you've already run the tool, it will ask you whether you want to replace the existing centerline. I'm going to say yes here. The inputs are the water extent polygon, so that's actually my green polygon that I have here. This you would have created during the wetted and bankful polygon tool. You then need to specify your thaueg, that you would have created during the previous tool, the thaueg tool, and your detrended DEM. Very important again that you use the detrended DEM here. The outputs, you need to specify the geodatabase where the centerline is going to get placed. And then there's one other input to pay attention to here. Down the bottom is the display draft cross sections option. I've left this off for now, but what this will do is it will actually, after it's created your centerline, it will create prototype cross sections perpendicular to that centerline at an equal distances down the channel. I turned it off because that takes quite a bit longer when you turn that option on. So here's our centerline. I'll go ahead and make it a bit bolder just so that we can see it a bit better. And again, what we're trying to achieve here is a line that is essentially equidistant from both banks of the water's edge. And you can see that in some places this line's actually doing a rather nice job of that. But then up the top of the channel here, you'll see that a tiny little island in our data has actually, or two little islands in fact, have thrown off the centerline. Just before I explain how to handle that, I did run the tool earlier and I had the cross sections feature turned on. So here you can see the cross sections. They're in blue. And what you can see, I just want to show here, is the influence that deviations in the centerline have on the cross sections. So you can see here that the cross sections tend to twist left or right depending on the orientation. And you know, in straight sections this isn't too bad, but you get quite a lot of fanning of the cross sections in meanders like this. So turning on the cross sections option does take longer, but it does actually help you just identify certain issues with your centerline. So up here we have this issue here, and you'll see that going around these islands has created quite a mess of our cross sections. So what I would do in this situation is actually go into an edit session and manually edit the vertices of this centerline to have it run just manually down through this section. Again, you want quite a smooth centerline because you don't want the cross sections to deviate too wildly. But you don't need to be completely accurate in the orientation of your centerline. So you can just do approximately between the banks of the main flow of the channel. And again, we do have some legitimate islands here, and the centerline you want to pick is the main flow. Okay, this is just a candidate centerline that we're going to use later in the topo processing on the server of the RBT data. So a couple of other things just to note about the centerline. This line, you do want to go and look at either end of your centerline, and you want to make sure that the line has got within 1 or 2 pixels of the end of your DEM and that it's nicely oriented at those ends. So I'm going to zoom in here, and sure enough, this centerline approaches close to the end of my DEM, and the line is moving in the right direction as it's exiting the polygon. This is just perfect. I don't want any wild deviations turning sideways or exiting the channel before it leaves here. I'll go and look at the other end as well, and sure enough, my line here is exiting the polygon in the appropriate angle at roughly the center of the polygon. So I'm happy with that. So this centerline, I'd be happy with this except for these islands here. I'll just go in and do an edit and make sure that takes an appropriate route through that section there. So that's the centerline tool of the CHaMP topo processing.